Hi, it's Kevin Bates here, and today's video is about the arrogance of banks. So those of you who hate my rants about the financial system should probably turn off at this point. And the origin of this is down to the fact that I tried to get a bank account for my 16-year-old son, and we went to the OP bank branch in our local village because it's the only bank office within 30 kilometers of where we live. And I thought it might be useful for him to have a physical branch that he can go to. And the first time we turned up, I had all the identification papers. I had a power of attorney letter from my wife giving me permission to open him a bank account on her behalf as well. And when we turned up for our allotted appointment time, which was a 20-minute slot, the bank manager said that power of attorney letters have to be done electronically now, not physically, and that in any case we can apply for the bank account online. So I went back home, logged on, only to find out that you can only generate a bank account online if you are already a customer of the bank. So I made another appointment. My wife filled in the electronic power of attorney on the bank's website, and I went to another appointment a couple of days later. The same bank manager insisted that I could open the bank account online and should not be wasting their time by turning up in person. So I demonstrated in front of her with my phone that that was not possible. And then she said that she couldn't find the power of attorney that my wife had literally filled in that morning on their system, and that therefore once again I couldn't open a bank account. So 2 trips, I think the total wasted time was about 2.5-3 hours on my part, and still no bank account. Now, this is an issue in Finland because the Finnish government has outsourced the identification system to the banks. If you want to log on to the tax system or the benefits system, or in general prove that you are who you are in Finland, you need to have a bank account and electronic codes to provide that identification. And as a result, under law, Finnish banks are required to give any person resident in Finland a bank account if they so request. Nevertheless, as you can see from my experience, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get one. They can put in place whatever hoops they like for you to jump through to satisfy the requirements before they will give you a bank account. And I think this is problematic. If you are going to allow banks to manage not just the money of your citizens but also their identities, then there really do need to be some protections in place to ensure that people can reasonably get such a bank account rather than being made to jump through all these bureaucratic hoops, or in some cases just plain lied to. And I think this digs deeper into a problem that I have found myself having with banks over the years. I've never been amazingly fond of them, but the relationship between banks and citizens has shifted since I was a teenager when I first got a bank account. I think back then we just accepted that they had this authority, and that you were the servant, as it were, and that they were the masters. Now when I look at it, I think this is back to front. The right of a bank to handle finances is not actually a right, it's a privilege. It is something that we, as the citizens in a democratic society, give to these organizations through our governments, and it is a responsibility that I don't think they should be taking lightly. It should be about service, not about the customers being made to jump through these hoops and to show suitable deference to the banks. But of course, in practice, that's not going to happen. With our monetary system, we've built a system where those closest to where the money comes from have the most power. This kind of evolves naturally from the properties of money and of finance. And that's why we end up in a situation where a banking executive can be making huge sums of money every year for what is basically just an administrative service, moving numbers around on spreadsheets, whereas people who are genuinely providing societal value, people like teachers and nurses, are woefully underpaid and underappreciated. I've seen a shift since my childhood where we're kind of worshipping more and more at the altar of money and wealth, and where service to society and productivity is actually being rewarded less and less. And as I said, you can see that a bank executive gets a huge salary. If you move down to lawyers and doctors, it gets less, and by the time you're at a nurse or a teacher, it's pretty damn low when you think about it, especially given what it is that they are putting into the world that we live in. How can we change that? Well, up until about 15 years ago, there really wasn't an option. We were stuck with the financial systems, and as an individual, you can write a letter to your MP complaining about the state of affairs. They're just going to ignore it. It's a bit hard to boycott the whole banking industry because it's got its claws into the way society works more and more, to the point that here in Finland, it's pretty hard to survive without a banking card to pay electronically. In fact, we are starting to see shops that not only have payment systems that work electronically through things like Visa and MasterCard, but are actually refusing to accept cash now, saying that only card payments are accepted, which again is a reversal from what I remember in my childhood, where there were plenty of shops where it was cash only. I don't know the last time I saw a shop that said cash only. It's a very rare occurrence now. So it looks like we don't have any options, but as I said, about 15 years ago there was a change with the arrival of open permissionless blockchains, where you have systems that allow you to store and move value without needing to go to a third party, one of these financial authorities, for permission. And systems where you can actually own your own wealth rather than giving it into custody to one of these financial institutions and then hoping that they will treat you nicely and won't give you the bureaucratic runaround. Now, we're still in the early days. I mean, finance is something that has evolved over centuries or millennia even, and the blockchain-based open permissionless value systems that we now have are only 15 years old, and really it's only in the last 5 years that they've been started to be taken seriously. So I still remain full of hope, despite the fact that the incumbent financial systems are now have started to adopt these systems themselves. I guess they've realized that they can't crush it, so now it's an attempt to subvert it. I do think the blockchain is robust and independent enough that these attempts will ultimately just provide on-ramps for people to move to more decentralized, less authoritarian systems, but ultimately only time will tell. Anyway, this video's gone on for far too long, so I'll wrap it up here and now, but I hope you found it interesting, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye for now.